guys, minions, and welcome to unMadeGaming. We are here for another episode of Age of Darkness, where we're fine and Nock is screwed. That being said, if you guys want to support the channel and the things we do here, we're trying our hardest to hit 30 subs here on Twitch, so hit that sub button, join us as our Legion of Undeath. And if you want to talk about this game or all the other games we have, join us in our Discord. Links for both of those things down below. And lastly, in the bottom right-hand corner, you will see that corruption bar. It serves two purposes. One is when that bar fills, Johnny, our GM, gets to do whatever the hell he wants to us. And two, every single dollar that goes into that bar goes back to these beautiful, wonderful, amazing faces that you see here before you. So with that, I will turn things over to Johnny to recap and take us into the world of Thra.
Wait, I just need to be clear about something very quickly. When do I not get to do whatever the hell I want to you, and then you thwart it every single time anyways?
I was going to say most of the time when I'm playing the game, because I do whatever I want.
You make a sex joke.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm really looking...
Train.
Oh wait, I don't know what that means. It's a hype train.
That means people could get emotes for you. Just got like 3 subs.
Do the thing. Do more subs. You get emotes, I guess.
Whoa. Crazy.
One day we'll teach you how to Twitch.
I don't know how to Twitch. I've been here for 5 years. I have no idea what I'm doing.
I don't know anything at all.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful burn.
I just get partners and other people on the show. I don't know what I'm doing.
You're at a level 2 hype train.
Oh, I'm a level 2. I'm just leveling up.
Basically, bits, subs,
Damn.
all add up to things, and the people that participate
Do more of that, team. Let's go. Hashtag join the Legion. All right, Johnny, take us away into the world of Thra with whatever this dance move you're doing is. I'm not really sure.
I'm just loosening up. I'm relaxing. I mean, everybody else is, having to deal with, being at home, kind of like, stuck in their chair. You got to loosen up. You got to relax. You got to let it out, right?
So you waited till we went to live to do your calisthenics?
I got bored. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And that's how you get corona babies. Now I'm gonna nat 20 for the rest of the game.
Loosening up in your house is how you get.
Wait, did you just make that up, or is that trademarked by somebody already?
I don't know. I've seen everybody talking about how 9 months from now there's gonna be a baby boom, and I'm like, hell no, that's not no.
Yes.
There's a virus. There's extra protection, not less.
That doesn't.
It happened in New York, didn't it? Whenever there was like that big blackout. Everybody just
blackout. Hurricanes usually do it because there's nothing else.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
I just sleep when there's a hurricane because there's no AC.
Look, you want some stock advice? Invest in companies that make condoms right now. In 9 months, you invest in baby products. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. You heard it here first.
Good night, everybody. This has been Money Talks.
Nice seeing you guys.
Yeah, see you later.
All right. Do you really want me to do it this time?
Babies.
Go
it's
for it.
fine.
All right.
Get it, Muppet babies. Sorry. I'll stop.
I'm sorry. I can't breathe right now. I need a minute. All right. Previously on Age of Darkness, the group saw a moment of peace as a friendly gelfling face looked at them and the podlings. Sorry, let's start that over. The group saw a moment of peace as a friendly gelfling face looked in on them and the podlings. Hiding in a hollowed-out space under a tree at the edge of the swamps of Sog, the group had finally found refuge after escaping the attack on the podling village. Now Lara, a member of the Drenching clan and part of the scouts investigating troubles in the swamp, offers them aid and news. Lara confirms for them that the attacks are happening in the swamp too, and that the attackers are still unknown. When it turns out that Velfa can help the Drenchins identify their attackers, she sets to copying the sketches she has made of the monstrous creatures. Meanwhile, Lara is able to outfit the group with an additional set of supplies and information about how to get back to the Madras currently convening in Stone in the Wood. A decision is made to try and reach the Crystal Desert. With a plan to try and ride a crystal skimmer all the way back to Stone in the Wood, the group heads northwest and back into the Sprighton Plains. The challenge in front of them: catch a couple of landstriders and ride the distance to the edge of the Crystal Desert. There, they will single the Daushan and petition them to give the group aid in quickly getting back to the Madras. Quickly and skillfully wrangling some landstriders, the group moves with the suns towards the western horizon and the desert beyond. As they travel the plains, they see the effects of the darkening and what it's doing to the land. Large, black, and purple blemishes dot as far as the eye can see. Stalks of grain look corrupted and dead. The land looks burned and desolate. The darkening was spreading. By the setting of the suns, they arrive at the edge of the desert. Camping for the night, Nock contemplated what awaited him. By the morning, the Doshin made their appearance. As we fade in, the elder shaman has taken Nock's mark after dream fasting with Alua. Grave concern has set into his face, and he looks to Nock and says, "Your crimes are done. Whether you join the clan or not is your choice now. But your message is important." And he looks to Alua and he says, "I cannot share your visions. I cannot share the fasting that you have given me. But I can take you to the council, the ones who are in charge right now as the Madra is away. Come with us, and you can plead your case there."
Works for me. We came over here to try and get to see, well, the Madra. So that's what it takes. That's what it takes.
The elder's gaze returns to Nock. Now that you are free, what do you choose?
I'm going to continue traveling with them.
He looks at you puzzled, waves his hands to the guards who have their spears pointed at you, and immediately they raise and hold them, to their chest. He says, the elder says, "Your choice is a valiant one, but your clan will need you, especially with the spreading of the darkening."
I think Nock kind of hesitates for a minute and then just kind of like nods a couple times and then is like, "I stand for all Gelflings. I will help you as I will help everyone. Only together can we stand strong against what is to come." And then he'll pull out his pamphlet and he'll hand it over and he'll say,
"This is how
pass this on to the rest of the clan."
Looking at you puzzled, he takes the pamphlet from you, turns the material over and over in his hands as he's kind of like quickly kind of taking it in. And he like leans forward and sort of whispers in a sort of conspiratorial tone and hands it back to you and says, "I think you need to update this. You might want to get to work quickly." He stands up and he begins to turn and he looks over his shoulder. "Who of you has ridden a crystal skimmer?" And he smiles and immediately begins to shimmy his way back up onto the up the rope and onto the top of this flying sort of flapping creature that looks like a sort of an air mantis.
Any
a manta ray.
Docs? Or we? She kind of.
Do you have a pamphlet for that?
Yeah. Do you have a pamphlet?
I don't have a pamphlet for that, but mostly just hold on tight
Okay.
To what?
to the skimmer.
Oh.
Okay.
Are there like ropes and stuff on the?
There was like a ladder thing, right?
You're muted.
Sorry. So yes, there are like 3 ropes that have dropped down. The 2 guards dropped down on ropes, and then there was actually one of them. The shaman shimmied down one of those ropes. So there's like one on the left and one on the right side of the crystal skimmer that's hovering about 50 feet above you. The rope looks relatively easy to climb. Like it's got different sort of tied knots in it to help aid in climbing. but it still is going to require, some sort of like speed test, something dexterous from you guys.
I have climbing.
That will work.
What difficulty should I put it at?
It's a 2. It's a level 2, but
Do we all have to make the test?
Only Knock gets to ignore it because this is his culture.
Yay!
I didn't fall on my ass.
Even if they reject the wise words written.
I should have known. All right, let's see it.
I succeed.
I feel like Velma's feet have like slipped and she's just holding on to one of the knots and is like dangling and like trying to like get her legs around it.
Can I try to pull her up or help her?
I was just going to ask, so Knock, how would you do that? How would you go about aiding her as she attempts to?
He would definitely just like jump for the rope to try to like haul her up, right? It would definitely be like one of those scenes in the movie or the show where like they like jiggle the camera and like have the puppets like fly across the screen so that it looks like they're moving really fast as he like leaps out to like try to grab her.
It is exactly what they do.
Why do I feel though the moment he hits the rope, it's gonna shake her enough that she's gonna drop?
Exactly. So I'm guessing this is like a speed or might test, probably.
I'm gonna stop midway through my rope to watch this / help if he fucks it up.
Well, so I'm going to assume that Knock, not only being a member of the clan and having since a young age been riding these crystal skimmers, but I'm also going to assume that there's a fair bit of experience in helping those who are new to the process and the experience. So it's not going to be a roll. I'm going to let you narrate it. Because it seems like an obvious thing to me that that people are going to fall and that you're going to want to you're going to want to know how to save them. So
nothing for that giant backpack though. I figure that's why she fell.
Look, do you really want me to force a roll? Because I would be happy to take a roll for it and then watch them both fall to the ground.
I kind of do, but
let's give her the old roll.
I'll roll again. Let's call this assist. Yeah.
Yeah, so giving him an assist would be an asset. Yeah, let's call it a strength roll.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Or might roll, sorry.
Might difficulty.
Ooh.
Wait, that wasn't me.
Failure?
That wasn't me. That was Valfa. I was supposed to roll.
I
thought she was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it difficulty 3.
Oh, okay. I thought I was getting a asset from Valfa because she was helping.
You are getting an asset for Valfa, but it's still difficulty 3 because she is also having some difficulty.
No, that's a failure. Hold on. Do I have experience points?
And this is where Valfa dies.
I'm gonna reroll.
You're gonna reroll.
I'm gonna spend the XP and reroll. And this time.
You mean business?
This time I mean business.
I think my backpack might be too heavy. It's weighing me down.
The first time was just a practice.
Oh, yeah, that was just a practice.
All right.
That was everything I needed.
Narrate us to bringing her back up onto the skimmer.
Yeah, like I said, so we get like that like shaky cam and like the knock puppet like zips across the screen, and then like we get this scene of like him like hauling up on the rope and like reaching out his hand to like try to help Velfa. He's like, "Grab me, I'll help you up."
Okay. And she
and then he just like goes 2 hands on her hand and hauls her up.
All right. Now, as you kind of haul, are hauling her up for Toll and for Alua, it's a little unsettling up here because once on top of the body of the crystal skimmer, it's essentially just like a gigantic manta ray, sort of floating in the air. It's got a sort of a longish tail, but the surface is very, slippery because it's very dry and there's not a lot of it's not very coarse at all. It's actually it feels kind of like hard to get your perch for just a second. But you can see that there are riggings that are sort of wrapping around parts of the body, and you can see that there's two steermen that are basically kind of controlling the movement of the crystal skimmer towards the front, and that there are various handholds on the rigging, so you're actually able to kind of, once you climb up, you slip a little bit, but kind of pull yourself up, and then are able to kind of grab and navigate, kind of holding on to this thing. But as you're getting sort of like your bearings on it, you're having to get you're having to really kind of master the fact that it's like moving. For Lua, this feels a little bit like akin to being on a ship, and the way the motion of the waves sort of like have that sort of rocking motion. It's slightly different and enough of a challenge for you to kind of navigate, like holding on and doing that, because it doesn't feel like the rhythm of the ocean. There is not like a sort of a smoothness to it. It's more a bit jerky, but you're able to kind of hold on. And so as Nock and Velfa kind of like square themselves onto the top, the shaman looks back to Nock and says, "When was the last time you rode a skimmer?"
When was the last time I was in the desert? When you kicked me out.
Well then, maybe you would like the place of honor. And he sort of points forward to where the helmsman is. Like there's this position on there where like you can steer, you can make call outs to the two sort of like rigging, the guys that were the rigging, I can't remember what I said that they called them, but they're doing the controls, and you can serve as the helmsman. He offers that position to you.
Yeah, Nock gives like a little half nod bow, and then heads to the position to do the thing.
We must journey to the wellspring. Navigate us there. You must ask for your aid there. We cannot leave the bounds of the deserts unless the council grants you the opportunity.
Of course. Off we go then. Ready, everyone?
Yeah.
As ready as I'm gonna be.
Good. That's very ready.
Also, maybe center that backpack so
like,
it holds you down. Yeah.
It's like
She just looks. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like that backpack so it's holding you down, Velfa. I believe in you.
Cole has grabbed the rope that was thrown over, and he's just like wrapped his whole arm around it. And that's what he's holding on to.
Good. Yeah, so we'll kick it into gear.
All right, I need some sort of knowledge roll of some kind. This is not a physical skilled roll for you. This is you understanding how to help. Like how to take command of the skimmer, basically. You are basically serving as its sort of skipper or captain at this point.
Sure. Does this count as charm, persuasion, or deception? Because I have an inability in that. But if it's not, then I'm just regular intellect, probably.
Would it be? So
well, does is the like music of Thra aspect help here? Because I'm like communicating with the animal and the people. So that's a bit of a push.
Well, so there's a couple things here, right? So the first thing is I don't think it's anything that's related to like a charm or a charisma kind of a situation. It's more about taking command and issuing the correct sort of orders in order to accomplish the things that you need to accomplish, right? Mm-hmm. It's much like taking command on a ship kind of a thing. Or
sure.
So there's that. Your music of Thra and the intuition of communicating with animals might actually provide aid. And there are legends of shaman of the clan, being able to control and navigate using the skimmers without actually using any rigging at all.
All right, cool, very cool. So I'll just roll like intellect then, because I don't have a specific skill. But does that give me like an asset then?
Sure. And it's going to be another difficulty 3.
Cool. I will spend 2 of my intellect pool to put an effort in. Yeah. So I think like what this looks like is you like mentioned that it's like kind of like taking over a ship, and like, you know, we've kind of seen before most of like how Nock interfaces with the world is through his music whenever possible. So I think he like pulls out his horn and he's like basically like playing like in time for everyone, and he's like between different like lines of notes, he'll you know, like take his mouth off the horn and like call out the calls, and but it's all very like musical the way he does it, right? It's like it's as though he's playing the skimming song, right?
Okay. And so as as this journey begins, the rest of you, you know, are sort of windswept as you know, and this is like a very familiar feeling for Alua. It just sort of like the wind just sort of like overwhelms you as it kind of like almost takes your breath away as you're moving incredibly quick, and the landscape below you as you're kind of looking aside as this thing just kind of pushes off out, almost out of, you know, it feels like it just gains momentum almost immediately, and it sort of takes off and starts, you know, flapping its wing and moving fast across the desert. You can see that the landscape is really beginning to change from sort of the rocky edges of the Crystal Desert where you had just been camped and then run into the Elder Shaman, now into this sort of open, sort of, you know, sort of yellowish, orange, brownish kind of colors. That is the crystal sand. That is the, you know, the sort of the blanket description of this setting. And as you were pushing across, off in the distance, you can see very far off, you know, towards the other side, you know, of the visible eye, because you're so incredibly high up, you can see the beginnings of the Claw Mountains. And for Nock, this is a familiar sight. When you see the Claw Mountains and you know the sort of the way that you're navigating, you're heading in the direction back towards the wellspring, back towards the home, sort of the central, you know, gathering of the Dushan clan. And so, you know, sort of taking off and beginning this flight, you see dust storms, you know, kind of dotting on the horizon as well. And you're able to, you know, sort of take this in this situation. And the elder steps up, you know, grabbing onto the rigging and, you know, kind of pulls his way towards the four of you as you are sort of, you know, kind of navigating or, you know, hanging out close to where Nock is doing the navigating. He says, "What do the other clans know? You said that the Drenchen, based on what you shared in your fast, they're aware. What do the other clans know?"
Who is he asking?
He's asking all of you.
I don't think many of the clans know anything.
No, not very much at all. That's why we have to do this.
We were sent to Johnny. What was the first clan we went to? I forget.
Sprighton.
Right. We were sent to a Sprighton village, and they were decimated, and no one knew why. We had never seen these creatures before. It just so happened that there was a podling that survived the attack and led us to his village, and they had seen these creatures before. And the Drenchen, right? The Drenchen in the swamps, they had also seen these. So I think only a small group of the Drenchen know what these are. At least that's all we've heard.
They tried to send a message for us, but really we're kind of the messenger. It'll be faster if we talk to you guys, and then, well, we need help getting to the unMadeGaming.
As each of you answer, he kind of looks off to the distance, looks towards the east where he knows Stone in the Wood is, and he looks back and he says, "I wish I could make the choice myself, but things have changed since the Maudra has left for the council of Maudras. This group of elders that has taken control, they see things very differently. It's almost as if there's a corruption among them, clouding their vision. I only hope that they grant you your need, because otherwise it is an incredibly long journey from the wellspring to Stone in the Wood." And kind of steps back and leaves you among your thoughts.
Am I still driving?
You sure are.
Yeah, so I won't say anything then. I'm busy.
I'm not the greatest at talking to people, especially of any relevant authority. And also the Royal Guard might take as good of a liking, well, I guess the ex-Royal Guard might take as kind of a liking to me as any kind of like motions to the other docent on this craft as took to Toll, or took Knock rather. And,
That's you.
took to me. I'm not welcome here either. So, it might be best if someone more, and he like kind of looks to Velfa for half a second, and like
Velfa's like she's so scared. She's terrified.
I think whatever face that she's making with her face covered, that's what Toll makes as he realizes what he's about to say. I think someone more educated and eloquent might be better. And then he like looks to Alua for like any help.
Yeah, me and Velfa will figure this out.
Sorry, I'm not talk right now, but can we talk over on the ground, please?
Yeah, no, that most the talking will be when we're on the ground. Don't worry. Oh, Jesus. She just shakes her head like, well, this is gonna be horrendous.
Just don't look down.
She looks at Toll like, no fuck, no way.
Velfa's just like frozen.
Traveling as you are, it takes hours even to cross parts of the desert. And so if you look at the map on the game table, you can see that where you started was about here. And you're now about there where the ping was. And so it's been, this journey has taken a couple of hours just to get there. But it's as you're getting, you're kind of looking towards this sort of this point that you're going to navigate around Nock to get you to where the wellspring is all the way up here. You start to bank the crystal skimmer, and I'm going to need Toll and Velfa to make a either a might or a speed roll of some kind. For Alua, this feels much like a very deep sort of swell, and she's able to kind of grab onto the rigging and kind of hold on. But for Toll and Velfa, I'm going to need you both to make some sort of a roll to kind of capture and hold on to it.
What difficulty?
Does this count as balancing?
This does count as balancing, and the difficulty is going to be 3 again.
These role choices feel like Gelfling profiling to me, Johnny.
Cool. So I am to counter the awkward situation that Velfa put me in previously. I have the rope like wrapped up to my armpit. That was like the long rope, and I am hanging on, and I have a nat 20. And as the thing turns and Velfa begins to like topple over, like Tall is able to swing out and grab her, but because of like the whiplash, it like pulls her like in very close to Tall, and now they're just awkwardly in this very close thing. And Toll's like, help. And he's like holding onto the rope to catch her, waiting for someone else to pull. Yeah, waiting for someone else to help pull him up. He's like, help.
Can I do a cool thing to try to help them?
Now that depends on a cool thing.
I'm gonna let you go first.
Because I'm driving the skimmer, right? Could I like do like a little like a little jiggling of the metaphorical steering wheel here to try to like use one of the wings of it's like a big like manta ray thing, right?
Right. It's got huge wings that are kind of flapping out like this, right? So you've got
like I want to use the wing like a little spatula to like flick them up back on.
Okay. So how are you going to make this happen? Is this is like a command roll of some kind that you're going to use, right?
I think I'm like playing the skimming song, right? Like the musical commands to like do this, and I think like while he's doing it, Nock like realizes what's happening, and he's going to basically like access the music around him and like let the magic actually flow out so that he can communicate directly with the skimmer and like forge that connection the way he did with Neb and Ruth, so that he can like instead of having to essentially give a command that other people try to like use the rigging to guide it, he's just going to ask this creature for a favor.
Wow. All right. It's a domesticated skimmer, for lack of a better, term. So I'm going to assume it's not going to be super difficult, but at the same time, have you ever done this before? Have you ever spoken to this type of creature before?
I would say like almost for like if there's any creature that he would have, it would be the domesticated creatures of the Crystal Desert, right? Like those would have been the first ones he would have learned how to do this kind of thing with. So I think pretty likely, just because these are so much a part of the everyday life of the people of the Crystal Desert.
All right. So, yeah. All right. So let's call this difficulty 3 with an asset.
Cool. So I lose a point of intellect to access my magic from the pool. Difficulty 3 with an asset. Oh yeah. Honestly, like I feel with like how ridiculous my ask is here, I feel like I can just like call that a minor effect as is. But I just like love the image of like Nock just like all of a sudden like a slightly different note being played, and then the skimmer just like goes sideways and then knocks them back up, and they just go.
Cole,
because I'm a sucker for this, and so is chat. How do we land, Sam?
Oh God.
Oh, like obviously you're holding on to Velfa like this, like holding onto the rope, and then you guys get like tossed up. So it's like full on like you're like holding her as you like Superman up into the air, and then like land back on the skimmer.
Perfect. Okay. Great. So we land standing. Got it.
Right. Yeah. You land standing, like holding on to her. Oh yeah.
You had an opportunity, and I'm glad you didn't take it. Johnny, you were gonna say something that was probably important. You're muted, so I guess it wasn't.
You asked the question and answered what I was gonna ask about. So that's perfect. Let's move on. So. As the motion of the sort of the crystal skimmer kind of flips you back up and kind of puts you right back in your space and position, the skimmer itself continues to bank a little bit, kind of holding on to you and kind of making it sort of work. And as it does, you hear the elder say, Look off to the right. And as he does, and he points all you point. Wow.
You're the other right.
All right. You as you're banking off to the right, you see the look. I'm sorry. You guys need to stop that in Zoom chat. All right. I can't focus right now.
I'm looking to the right, Johnny.
I know you're looking to the right. So as you're looking to the right, you look off to the side, and he's pointing. You see something sort of glimmering and glinting in the distance. And as you're looking over, as there's like this. You kind of come around, and it appears like things start to come into focus a little bit more. You can see in the distance the Castle of the Crystal. This is the first time probably any of you have seen it in at least a year, if not more. the last time that any of you may have seen it, it still looked relatively sort of like hewn from stone and sort of like in colors of like earthy browns and sort of tans and reds. But as you're taking this in, as you're taking in this site, there's something that distinctly just sort of grabs your attention as something that is different, and it is that there is a sort of blackness that looks like the base of the castle has begun to sort of take on, and the land around it. Now, the valley of the Castle of the Crystal was a lush sort of setting, grasslands, a flowing river, the forest sort of off in the distance, dark wood. The land itself around is looking like the corruption that you all notice in the Sprighton Plains, with the purples and the blacks and the sort of the weird sort of tenderly sort of colors that are sort of flashing through. But you can see it from a distance. You can see the corruption, and you can see that it's sort of creeping towards the river that flows right near the castle itself. And as he's pulling himself back up towards, the elder looks to Nock and says, "Circumstances have changed. I need you to give all speed to this skimmer. We must get to the wellspring quickly. They must be made aware of this situation. Your mission is now critical."
Yeah, the skimmer will just like start like going faster as Nock picks up the pace of his playing, and he will just say, "Will do, though it always was."
And he kind of nods and looks away back towards the Castle of the Crystal, and he says, "All haste." And he makes his way back to sort of the backside of the rigging, and then starts to tap as well on the backside of the animal, which is another sort of like natural, or not a natural, but sort of like a coaxing kind of a thing to gain as much speed out of as possible, just along the ridge of the sort of the spine as it meets towards the tail.
How far does it look like it's spread?
Give me some sort of a perception roll or a sense danger or something like that.
Great. I am great at identifying danger and also tracking things. Well, that doesn't work. So identifying danger would be great. So what's the difficulty?
This is going to be really hard unless you can give me a good reason why Nock would be able to, Toll would be able to figure this out easily. I don't think I can give you a reason why it would be less difficult. I mean, why it would be less challenging. But I will say that. So I'm using sense danger. So I'm trained at looking for like the subtle nuances in nature. Also, we're flying from a higher elevation, so perhaps that's an asset.
I want to do the same thing he's doing. I have assessing danger and have spotted such things before.
So I feel like this is a case where, all right, I'll tell you what. Give me sort of an interaction between the two of you, and we'll call that an additional asset to whoever actually makes the roll, because you're already going to get one asset because of the height of the area, or like the height that you're flying at. Have a conversation that kind of like has that interaction, describes what you guys are actually looking for, how it's going, and then we'll call that another asset.
Sure.
And it'll be difficulty 4.
Remind me, Alua, where you're from.
I'm Cypher, so I'm from the coast.
Interesting. Okay.
Spent a lot of time on boats when I was younger, looking at the horizon. So
got it. Okay,
that's my argument for seeing things far.
I have it. I would assume that Cypher have some kind of telescopic things. And I would know that because I used to work at the castle. So I would look to Alua and say, Alua, did you spend time on ships, right? Mm-hmm. Do you have one of those eyeglasses that they would use?
Can that be in my bag of light tools? Being as it's like a little tool.
Can it? Sure. Is it? Did you bring one?
I would assume.
Then it's there. I'm going to assume it's there too.
You said difficulty 4?
That's correct.
1 asset, right?
2 assets. One from me helping and one from the hype.
Yeah, that. Let me see what I could see. And she kind of finagles her bag and grabs it and manages to keep balance because sea legs. You just keep holding on to her, she says. She gets her telescope out.
Okay.
I did it.
So what was the question you were asking is how far the spread has actually occurred?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in my mind, the Castle of the Crystal probably stands somewhere between 8 and 10 stories tall. It is a gigantic structure. It's probably its area, or it's sort of like the area that surrounds it, the diameter of the area around it is quite large. The river that runs next to it is not dwarfed by it, but it is a significant river. And when it runs by the Castle of the Crystal, it doesn't look as large as it does in other, places on land because of the way that the imposing nature of the crystal is. This has spread probably 3 to 4 times the area of the actual castle itself. So I'm expecting, like I said, in my head, it feels like it's a good 1/8 of a mile in like diameter that the Castle of the Crystal exposes above ground. It's spread out, pretty far, at least a 1/2 mile, if not more.
Oh damn!
And you can see, so even in the daylight, even with the suns, the brothers kind of the three brothers, kind of floating, at its zenith, you can still see the weird sort of dark glow that was witnessed in the Sprighton Plains around this thing.
She puts her telescope on her belt and she just shakes her head, looks at Toll. It's a lot. It's big. We need to hurry. You did.
It's been a year, right, Johnny? Since the Battle of Stone in the Woods?
It has been a year. The gathering of the Madras is in celebration of that year and to figure out what's next.
Toll, in response to Alua, what she's saying is, can you, and he looks down to Velfa. Can you teach Velfa to use the eyeglass? I'll hold her steady, and she can draw it. We need to show the Madras how far it spread in the year.
Are you sure that's advisable?
She looks at Velfa. You got pictures of that place in one of your books?
Oh, some, yeah.
Let's wait till we land. I'll show her how far it is. Let's get on the ground. I don't want her to do that.
That sounds better than what I was suggesting.
Yes.
I have a question for Velfa, and given what you're asking, does Velfa have any experience with topographical sort of illustration? Would she have had any experience making maps?
I don't know if she's made detailed maps, but I'm sure that she has spent some time studying the various places where the Gelflings have settled and, all the details that come in along with their culture and what they need to do to survive.
I'm not talking about detailed specific stuff. The relative representation is still a thing in map making. That's what most pirate maps are, or most other examples of old world maps. So even just relative map making and, sort of relative representation, I think is the question that I'm asking for that.
Yeah. I don't see why not.
Okay, so there's not going to be any type of skill roll or anything else when Lua decides to explain that to you and make that happen. So it'll be a natural part of the sort of your expertise.
Yeah.
And so as the the crystal skimmer is just beginning to kind of like realign itself as Nock gives the command as you are on the final leg of the journey towards the wellspring. Another sort of outcropping in the distance stands out to you, but this time it's inside of the crystal desert or the crystal sea itself. It is this large sort of like, gigantic towering structure, almost taller than what you would expect the castle of the crystal, in respect to height. And it's this large sort of stone thing. And for Nock, immediately you recognize it as the sacred place where you are not supposed to go. But it stands out sort of, dotting in the distance there.
But we need to go there because...
Well, you need to get past it, basically. You need to be sort of, bank and find your way around it, basically.
Yeah,
but...
I'm just cruising. I mean, I was told to head this way, so I figured that if it's a problem, they'll let us know.
Okay. All right. So as you're beginning to kind of make your way around and sort of like bank it on a right hand side of it, this structure looks to be just like jutting stone and rock, sort of a moltenous, sort of mountainous kind of formation. And at the top, there looks to be this incredibly large sort of hollow at the top that you can sort of see into just a little bit. And there are various sort of pieces of lumber and, cloth and covering, and they're blowing and flapping in the wind, these cloth. And as you're just sort of banking and, kind of making your way, what looks like a really sort of tiny, weird looking creature starts to wave in your direction, just sort of acknowledging your passage. I need a perception roll from everybody. Everybody besides Nock.
Okay. Perception's intelligence, right?
Pretty much.
Difficulty?
We'll call this a 2. So where is Toll? All right.
They see them the best.
I see everything, and so does Velfa, apparently.
I see it, but not as good as them, so I'm assuming they're closer to whatever is happening.
We're very...
What you see, Alua, is a figure that's very tall, much taller than any Gelfling, reaching out and waving a staff and looking in like weird sort of robes, and has this really strange sort of molted blue skin, molted blue skin, and what looks like it's got a beak, but you really can't quite make it out. For Toll and Velfa, you both, having had experience or read in books, see the figure of a Skeksis looking back out at you, just waving and just sort of, kind of acknowledging the passage. And it looks happily like excited and dancing as you're at your passage.
That guy's weird. I don't like him.
It's a trap.
Still in this awkward pose, because why not make this longer? Toll looks down. Did you see that?
Yeah, I've never seen one look so happy before.
I've never seen it either. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I think it
should.
Is that what that wiggly thing is?
I think it's a Skeksis.
It's waving.
I think it smiled.
Oh no.
It seems
It kind of looks more like a grimace, but
I feel like
this is not gonna go well.
Are we landing there?
Oh yes.
Like
that's
right
where
there.
We're supposed to. Well, not right there.
Oh.
No, Nock, you would know this is the Circle of the Suns. It's a place that's forbidden for the Doshin to go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go there.
Well, you're not allowed to.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'd rather not.
Don't worry. I wouldn't go there if I were you.
Are there any I mean, do you know what that is? Knock?
Do I know what that is?
I think you would know what a Skeksis is, yeah.
Oh,
No, what the area is.
But like why it's like do you know why there would be a Skeksis out here in the desert?
Yes, you would. So Knock, this is basically what you would be able to explain to them. You don't know why the Skeksis is there. You just know that it's been forbidden for your entire life, that it's been there. And those who are, precarious or incorrigible children never return, who venture there. So at least that's the stories that are told.
Yeah, I'll just say basically that.
Wow, that's fascinating, Knock.
It's weird how your voice changed a little bit like that. It sounded like you had a ponytail.
I could grow one. Do you think it would look good, Toll?
I think it would look great.
Little braids in it.
Alua is just shaking her head because she has long braids in her hair. Nobody's asking her, really.
So just as the site continues to sort of like find itself diminishing in the distance, you see the elder kind of moving up and saying, "The wellspring's ahead. Bring her in low."
Yeah, I'm cruising it in. We're gonna go into landing altitude. Everyone put on their seatbelts.
Johnny, the mention of the wellspring has been brought up a couple times. Do we know what that is? Is it like a common term?
So it's known as the where the Dushan, actually, sort of like they don't have they're very nomadic. They don't have like sort of a central sort of like city in the same sense, or central village in the same sense as like, Stone in the Wood is for the Stonewood clan, and for the rest of them, like they all have their own sort of like established sort of like central hub of like Gelfling clan sort of business and commerce, and like a little bit of society. For the Dushan, it's very different. This is a gathering place during special circumstances, but for the most part they're nomadic, and they encounter each other on the sea, and they exist in this sort of nomadic pattern that takes them all across the Crystal Sea.
Okay.
And occasionally out, as in the example of Nock being banished.
Got it. Okay. So I would know of this location, but not like what the hell it is. Like I've heard a docent talk about it before.
If you had spent any time in the Crystal Sea, you would definitely know of it, if not where it was generally.
Okay. Got it. All right. Just curious. So we land.
And so as Nock is advised to bring the crystal scammer in low, by low, it means one of the lower branches of this gigantic sort of gnarled, old, huge tree. The largest sort of like tree structured seen outside of the stone, the dark wood, there are parts of the deep dark of the dark wood where there are trees that tower, hundreds of feet into the air, giant sort of like redwood kind of things. This tree is very different. Its sort of branch structure and its makeout just has sort of various like areas where there are flattened sort of platforms, and you can see that there are that it towers 5 or 6 stories into the air. And there are a couple of crystal skimmers that have been like sort of moored to various sort of outreached branches. And the elder shaman is trying to point you in the direction of getting to one of the lower branches on the tree.
Yeah, we'll parallel park and everything.
And so as you begin to come in, you find yourself sort of, the song sort of ending, and for a moment the creature starts to kind of buck a little bit, as you make the calls in order to navigate this thing into its birthing place, essentially. And as ropes are kind of thrown, you are expected to kind of help moor it all together as the rest of you, Toll, Alua, and Velfa, are just sort of standing off, looking in the distance, kind of like taking in this particular situation. That's when you're able to kind of get a real sense of sort of how this structure works. You can see that there are very few Dushan actually here. Although for Nock, it seems busier than any other time that you've actually been here. Maybe 50 or 60 people or just 50 or 60 Gelflings altogether you've ever seen here in your previous times. There looks to be a couple of hundred. And you can see them climbing up ropes and kind of moving, from the various platforms. And that in order to engage the council that supposedly, or to go see the Mother Aughra, you would go towards the top. Where there's more of like a sort of a flat platform or plateau in among the branches.
You have to go up there.
Are you going to lead us there?
I can absolutely lead you there.
Great. I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah, it starts going. There are so many people here.
Is there not usually?
No.
Oh. What does that mean? Like, why are there so many people?
Well, I imagine because the elders are meeting here, and, well, all of this bad stuff is happening.
That does make sense.
So, he just like keeps going.
Like Toll feels immediately dumber. Yes. Before leaving
the elder and the other the helmsman and all of the on this particular crystal skimmer, the elder kind of reaches for you, Nock, and sort of like turns to you and sort of grabs you on the shoulder and says, "This place is not what you remember. You've been gone for years, if I understand."
Yes.
The clan turns on itself. Be careful.
Well, if it's not the same as it was before, that may actually be better for us, because they didn't like me very much before. Heads out.
You see this, the rest of you see this exchange happen. You see like Nock just sort of turn and begin to make his way towards, in the direction that he feels like you need to go. The rest of you get the sense that the elder is not, he's not happy with what Nock has said, and just, looks on with concern as the rest of you begin to make your way sort of into this sort of the tree structure itself. And so, Nock, you start navigating your way through the various sort of like rope bridges between the branches towards the sort of the central trunk, and the rest of you really get a sense of what this tree actually was, because it's no longer alive. It's petrified. The entire structure is petrified in wood, essentially, and so it's stronger and it feels firmer under your feet. For Nock, you of course feel sort of the hollowness of the life that used to be here, and that there is an echo of the Song of Thra sort of like coming through its like physical form, but it isn't alive anymore. And so as you're beginning to make your way towards one of the rope structures to take you up to the next level, to the level that you need to go to, two Doshan guards just basically just kind of cross their spears and say, "No entry. The council is meeting."
This is an emergency. Is the guy still with us?
No, the elder stayed behind on the crystal skimmer.
Shit.
We were brought by another elder. We have an important message.
All
Life
messages
or death.
are...
She interrupts.
As you interrupt, the Dushan in front of you kind of like... The Dushan in front of you looks and goes, "What?" life or death.
She holds up her hand. She's not wasting time. You can either see what I gotta say, or go let me say it. But if you're not gonna let us past, I will sit here and scream it. We don't have time. You need to let us through. This is the most serious you guys have seen Alua since we've started this journey.
In a round.
It's over to his partner, with her looking on, kind of just confused and sort of taking in the situation. He raises his hand and holds it to you.
Alua dumps all the information of their adventure on him. Quick, fast, furious, frightening. She takes no regard for his feelings on it.
Really?
She is not in the mood. If you want me to do a roll or something for that, I am down.
I feel like there's a role here, but I'm really not sure what
I don't know
how to do
either.
this.
I have something called intellect defense. I don't know what that is. It sounds like it could work.
Intellect defense is like if someone's attacking your mind, you're better rebuffed against it.
So could I use that to be like, I don't care about your brain, I need to pass this information on?
Do you have anything involving persuasion or intimidation?
I don't think so. The intellect defense is the closest thing I have.
All right, given the fact
I can use an XP if you want. I don't mind.
No, it's okay. Just go ahead and give me an intellect roll with with a difficulty of 3.
Regular intellect?
Yeah, because what you're basically doing is you're force feeding him all of this information, and so it may have it may have a consequence or a side effect here. So
yeah. Melt his mind a little.
Seriously. Okay, so what's the minor effect you would like to add into this particular exchange?
He probably gets knocked back a little bit physically, if not onto the ground, but she's looking for immediate agreeance, like, oh shit, yeah, we should let these people in. And the rest of you might notice Alua messing with something in her pocket.
Interesting.
All right. So as you're kind of sharing all of this, the sort of the sheer physical response that's going on for this guard, he just begins to grow graver and making sort of gasping sounds. And that's when Toll and Velfa and Nock see something that just kind of catches them completely off guard. The second guard's sort of response, she looks to her partner, realizing something's going on, and immediately reaches out and touches and joins the Dreamfast.
Oh, fun.
And as she does, her face and her expression also become overwhelmed. It becomes less intense for the one, but for the two, it still is this gigantic, overwhelming experience. And as you finish, they both kind of release, and they step back, pulling their spears back. Be quick. The council is not in a good mood today.
They're about to meet a bad mood, and Alua just goes.
All right, so Alua makes her way past. You can see that the two of them are not even really paying attention to the two of you anymore, as both of them are sharing eye contact. And for a moment, Alua, one of the things that you get was the sense of the affection that these two have for each other. How it's sort of unspoken, and they're dealing with not only learning that, but also learning of the circumstances. And you can see that the affection is sort of playing out in their faces as you kind of pass, as they're connecting with each other, eye to eye. And it's just you move past and move forward. And so as the rest of you kind of follow along and make your way up this sort of rope, this rope way, rope bridge kind of a thing that helps you climb up, you navigate your way up towards where the council's chamber, not chamber, but open area under the stars is. And you can see that there is a group of people, a group of Gelflings congregating, waiting to speak to the clan. And there are 3 individuals seated next to the seat of the Mother Aughra, which is very close to the center of this sort of circular area where there's like a big, huge fire being burnt. And they're hearing the council, or they're hearing the voices of different people, or they're hearing this different people come up and speak to them. But their three faces are grim, and they are much older than anybody like else in the area. To Knock, these seem like elders who should have been, just relegated to teaching, but they appear to have been put in position of power while Madra was away, and this seems unusual to you.
Okay. I guess, yeah, as they walk in, Knock will look at the others, expecting one of them to speak before saying anything.
Again, Toll catches it and goes,
And Alua will be like, who's the most important? We don't have time to mess around with what I saw at that castle.
Toll points to the Almadra.
There is no Almadra there.
Oh,
there
shit.
is no Madra. Right, so like I
they're
said,
all at the place.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Knock will just whisper to Alua and be like, well, none of them are really in charge. They're just kind of doing it because the Madra's not here.
Well, who's the most important that's still here?
None of them are very important.
So Velfa's gonna step up as they're trying to discuss this, to everyone, because they're discussing this. Velfa steps up and she's like, "We have life or death news. We need to speak to someone. Whoever we need to speak to, please." And looks on to see if anybody presents themselves.
and you're saying this to the group in front of you, or to? Okay,
everybody.
There's a bit of commotion going on because of the what's being said among them themselves. You're not quite being heard. If you want to speak up and do some sort of persuasion or intimidation, I would love to. I would love to have a roll from you for that specifically, Velfa.
Okay. Do you want to do effort?
That's up to you whether you're going to add effort to your roll. Right, because this is basically going to be an intelligence roll or an intellect roll, unless you've got a skill that specifically addresses this.
Can I assist her with whatever she's doing?
Sure. What type of skill do you think applies here, or are you just going to do? Is it just another adding a
difficulty?
Hold on, just a second, Velfa. Alua, what do you think? How do you think it's going to apply here? Your effort to help her.
Alua at this point is just anxious and wanting to be on another skimmer on the way to the.
Maybe
thing.
As Velfa tried to speak, Alua kind of maybe heard her, and Alua probably can project quite a bit louder.
I would just try to repeat what she said louder, if anything. So if you want me to roll instead, and have her assist me, or vice versa,
I can assist.
Honestly, it's entirely up to the two of you who's actually going to make this roll. But it sounds like both of you are going to be involved in getting the attention.
Would it be might instead of intellect for me? Using those lungs.
No. This is a social situation.
It was a good try.
I don't know. What was the difficulty?
The difficulty is going to be 3.
Are we both assisting each other, or just
one of you is assisting the other? Whoever's making the roll, and it sounds like Alua is making the roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen up, everybody.
Okay, so first, can you stop rolling, because you're rolling too damn good.
It was
Second.
It was the Corona baby joke.
You've been blessed by Corona baby Jesus.
I invoked the McClokin from on high.
Next, what do you say, Alua? What do you say to back what Velfa just said?
I'm gonna repeat what she said, and then probably say probably too loud for more than just the council to hear. The darkness is spreading, and we need to get to the unMadeGa. We need your help now.
And so as your voice is sort of booming, the crowds begin to sort of pay attention to you. But they only sort of like pay attention, like the crowd starts to pay attention because whatever's going on with the three council and they're listening to this one particular individual that's speaking to them, they're not able to easily sort of hear in response. They're not able to see, they're not able to like hear what's going on over the roar of like the flames or the fire that's sort of crackling, and it's a huge sort of bonfire kind of a thing, so it's making a lot of noise as well, and the crowd is sort of responding, and in kind they're making their own kinds of noises that's kind of distracting. But as they begin to kind of look at you, a couple first kind of walk up and say, "What do you mean the it's spreading? What's going on?"
There's a lot going on. Who needs to know the information the most? She's holding her hand up, obviously trying to dream fast with whoever's most important. It's hard to explain. There's a lot. We need help getting to the unMadeGa now. They sent us on this mission. We've ended up here. You should know what's going on as well.
And we should all together. Butler tries to speak up, and she puts her hand up towards Alu as well.
Yeah, Nock will follow suit.
We don't have time to waste.
Oh, crap.
Follow suit in in dream fasting?
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to be very clear about this.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get everybody to...
Yeah, Toll does this. Once he sees Nock do it as well, he's crap. And he takes a step forward and puts his hand up as well.
All right, I'm gonna need some sort of defensive roll intellect from all of you.
Dope.
Okay, what is the difficulty?
The difficulty is going to be 4.
I will spend an edge, spend 2 for the. Yeah, you know what I mean. I do not succeed.
Nock is too distracted by being home.
I will spend an XP.
That's probably a really good idea.
Yeah. Damn.
Ah!
He comes in from behind to be the best.
Okay, Nock. Since you got the highest roll and the sort of this intellect defense thing, what is the leading message that you want to leave the rest of the sort of the Gelflings that are joining in of the crowd that's standing here, that as Alua's like got them all beginning to kind of like they've got a number of them reaching out before you are joining together? What is the leading message that Nock sort of wants them to take away from this?
That like all Gelfling are in this together, right? It's like a message of like we need to unite to face this challenge, this enemy. It's like very much piggybacking on his like initial message, but it's like more focused because it has like a more direct target as opposed to like just like the vague Skeksis threat. Whereas now it's much more real.
Okay, so as this happens, the overwhelming sort of sense, then what you guys were rolling the defense for was this overwhelming sort of sense of like various competing needs and wants and emotional states, structures of like thought coming in at you, because there's at least 10 Gelfling that kind of like step in and join in this particular situation with you. But because of the way that Alua has sort of led this, and with Nock's sort of like force of will to kind of leave them with this lasting message, all of that really kind of clears aside as the story that you're trying to tell them just kind of plays out in their minds, and it just really begins to overwhelm them. Okay, hold on just a second. I need to close my window real quick because we've got some noise. Hold on.
I do like what Chad is saying. What message did you want to tell them, Talk? That I was right all along.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much, yeah.
That was the message I was expecting, honestly.
They dream fast, and it's just not like this. We break, and we're all like, bro, fuck.
Really? Right
Not
now?
the time. It's just him throwing pamphlets.
So as the four of you are sort of experiencing this, and it's kind of pushing towards, you become aware of like this sort of heat sort of flowing around you. It's not like hot, and so it's in the sense of more like comfort and warmth. And it just kind of flourishes and blooms and starts from the four of you and spreads through the other gelflings. And as you know, the message that you're conveying sort of ends, you all are like, you are all kind of like, shocked out of it for just a second and step back. And as you look down, you can see that a dream etching has begun to sort of stitch itself in purple lines right under you. And it grows like this incredible sort of weird Celtic knot that just kind of blossoms from the center of the four of you out and makes a circle about 10 feet in diameter of like this. And you can feel sort of the remains of like the magical energy sort of pulsing through you, kind of dancing just as it kind of like finishes its touches as it comes out to this full 10 feet in diameter. And you can feel that your memories are here. What you've seen is here. Your story is here. And as that kind of happens and the crowd around you begins to kind of grow, you can see others reaching up, coming forward, seeing that this dream etching has come, and laid down. And you can see just various of the Deucen who are just standing there, reaching their hands down and beginning to experience the exact same thing that you were all experiencing. At that, it gets the attention of the council. And silence sort of like plays across as you hear a booming voice that says, "Approach, you four who bring death."
Belva cautiously steps forward.
Alua steps forward, but she's given them a hell of a look.
Yeah, Nox steps forward, but just mutters like, "This clan never was good at not shooting the messenger."
I didn't think we were bringing death to anyone. I just and Toll steps forward.
Who are you? The first, seated in the center of the three, kind of looks in your general direction. You who bring disruption to this council.
Maldra sent us on a mission to investigate some going-ons in some villages nearby. Some things that were not usual, not hearing back from them. We've discovered a lot of things on our journey in the last few days, and we need to get this message back to them. And the best, quickest way for us to do that is to get your help first. Your elder brought us here that found us on the edge of the desert.
And he looks directly to you and he says, "Our Madra? Our Madra is gone. We are all that are left that are responsible for the Deucen."
No, the Almadra.
Yes.
What Almadra? She is not here. She does not support us, says a second. The one to the right.
The Almadra supports all gelflings.
Does she? Then why does she take our Madra away from us? Why does she call for her to a far-off place rather than allowing her to deal with our matters at hand, says the third to the left.
As I said before, as I showed you, we're all in this together. It is not just one clan, but the clan of Gelfling that needs our help.
You are the child who was banished, says the second on the right.
And yet everything I said has proven to be true.
Toll is really bad at these kinds of interactions in so that he has a negative in them, and he has no time for this nonsense. And he looks to all three of them and says, "Clearly, your Mother Aughra thought that the three of you could capably take care of your clan, and clearly she was wrong. Is there anyone else we can talk to?"
Alua shrugs and goes, "Yeah, no, he's right. We don't have time for this. Either you're here to hear our message, or..." She looks at Toll, giving him a look like, "We might have to go fucking steal one of these things to get out of here."
The Drenchen in the south already fight these creatures. It's only a matter of time before you do as well, with your proximity to the castle.
And there's corruption fire on the edge of your desert. You won't be able to fight it by yourself. You need us. You need them.
There is no corruption here, says the third to the left.
Yet.
It's right on the edge of your desert. It's about to be here if it isn't already. We had to go around it to get into this land.
There are no creatures who attack our land, says the first at the center.
Great. Show me the great Doshan warriors, then. When
They stand behind you.
When your land needs defending, will you rely on just them? Or will you rely on those who guarded the castle, as you did in the previous fights a year ago?
As you can see, the one at the center kind of points to the back. The crowd is beginning to be quelled and kind of like pushed to the back as Doshan guards begin to move forward. These guards guard the council. They represent us. They represent our needs. They represent all that matters for the Doshan people. We know not of these creatures. We don't have any experience. We take care of our own and only deal with our own matters.
Then I guess we'll keep that in mind when the rest of the Gelfling don't.
And as for the Gelfling who guarded the castle, you were the ones who served the Skeksis. You were the ones who kept their counsel. You were the ones who gave your lives.
Elfa's going to interrupt him, and she's going to step forward.
Fool?
We're wasting their time.
Alua is going to take her staff out and slam it on the ground next to her. Either you dream fast with me now, or we're going to battle your warriors and get our way out of here to the help we need. I do not have time for your stupid games that should have ended a year ago when you knew what happened and when your Aughra answered the call. Will you answer the call, or will you and your warriors die here today?
Give me an intimidation roll of some kind. Difficulty 5.
There is no need for us to have violence. Let us simply go our way. If you are refusing to see our wisdom, as you always have, that's fine. Just let me leave once again. I knew it was a mistake to come back here.
I got intellect or intellect defense or might.
Yeah,
I don't really have anything specific
intellect
for this.
It's an intellect.
You said 5?
It's difficulty 5.
And if I want to use an XP, where do I put that point?
Take an asset from what Nock just said.
All right. And if I want to use an XP on top of that, or should I use that if I mess up the roll?
XP lets you reroll, so you can just do that.
Yes.
If you want to spend effort, you can spend effort.
I'm gonna reroll.
You can apply effort to your second roll as well if you'd like to.
That's probably a good idea here.
Okay.
So just sacrifice 2 intellect points.
Still.
Woof.
Wolf is right. So as this sort of as this sort of statement comes out of you, and you slam down your staff, and Nock, you make your statement. Nock sort of backs it up with what he was saying. You can see that it takes no tangible effect on them as they kind of look around at each other and just sort of laugh and say, "There are warriors that wait from behind. Please do what you need. Prove that you are failures at taking care of your own, seeking our counsel for which we will not provide support." And as you kind of turn around and take a look, there are 20 Gelfling guards, weapons all pointed in
20?
your
I
direction.
thought it was 3.
There were 3 council members. Guards have been showing up left and right.
Oh.
You've
I
always,
thought it was only 3 guards, or I wouldn't have done that.
you have always refused the counsel of me and those I keep the company of. Why not simply let us go on our way?
I think Tull also speaks up at that, and sort of like he purposely like raises a hand with no weapon in it and looks to the guards. Actually, like he turns on these 3, and he's speaking to the guards. He says, "We do not seek your counsel. We sought to aid you in this time of upcoming strife. If you don't want our aid, then we'll be going." And he starts to take a few steps towards the guards with his hands raised with no weapon.
Alua takes the charm out of her pocket and puts it around her neck. She's done messing around. Anybody that knows what the Cypher charms are would recognize what it is.
Oh, snap.
It's a special thing that it may want.
Would Velfa know about this?
Probably.
I would imagine that Velfa would be given her research.
It's a dream fasting charm that usually only the Cypher have.
Very special.
Velfa's just like,
Velva's like, oh, fuck.
And what do you do, Alua? What do you do with that?
She's preparing to fight. she's if they won't listen, the people, let them cut in line. The dream fast thing is on the ground. She's just ready to fight her way out, and is gonna pray that the elder that's by the flying thing will let them take it if they get out of here.
Okay.
That's her mental plan.
Okay, what about the rest of you? Are we leading towards a fight here, or does anybody else have any ideas?
I mean, it depends.
I tried. I tried to make an overture towards just letting us leave.
Yeah, and that's what Tull is trying as well.
Yeah,
so it depends how the
Velfa is
guards
as well.
respond.
Okay, so as Alua prepares and as the rest of you are attempting to make a non-violent sort of like appeasement to them to at least allow you to leave, a swirling wind just comes almost out of nowhere, but for Nock, you can see it for just a second before everybody else. As you can see the elder shaman who brought you here sending a gust of sort of like desert storm wind, like this sort of swirling dust devil, as it just kind of sweeps across and through the 20 guards, sort of catching them off. Right? These are not trained shaman. These are desert warriors, but they are not trained shaman, so they weren't prepared to deal with this. Giving you a moment and an opening to be able to make a run for it. And
Yeah.
you can see the elder kind of motioning to you as he continues to like use his hands to guide this sort of thing. And you also notice that he is singing at the same time that he is doing this.
Alua is gonna immediately take the back because she's just ready to fight.
Nock is just gonna be like, follow me, run.
And then she's gonna push Velfa towards Tull and just follow them.
And he's gonna book it, but he's gonna start playing his music too. And because I already forged the connection, I want to call the skimmer that I forged the connection with and get it to pick us up.
I just want the camera to hold for like a half second longer on the awkward handhold run between Tull and Velfa.
Yeah.
Like it's panning, right? Like the camera's panning to like Nock was like diddly-doo-doo, right? He's doing his thing. And then like Alua pushes Velfa and this is like a hand grab and then a continue to run.
Yeah.
I can spend magic points if you want here, Johnny.
I think you need to give me a roll of some kind.
I can probably do both. Spend the point and make a roll.
I love that,
Please
that
do.
Nock is slowly becoming the Green Ranger.
You totally is.
He just comes flute dagger.
That's what I always was. No, I put the meme in it. I'm the hunting horn from Monster Hunter.
Yeah. Oh,
all right, what's the difficulty for this?
The difficulty is going to be 3 because you've already got a forged connection with the creature.
I gotta get a crit here so we can do something cool.
I hope you do, actually, because I want to see how this plays out.
Oh, so close. Not
Close. You successful though.
All right. So, Nock, narrate us to this particular point and how you actually convince the rest of the group to do whatever it is, crazy idea that you've got going in your head.
Yeah, so Nock is just gonna do the thing like in action movies that happens where he just like runs off the edge and then like the skimmer is gonna like come up to meet us. so from like the other people's perspective, it's just like he just said, "Follow me, run," and is just booking towards the edge. And then he like looks behind and is just like, "Everyone needs to trust me," and then just like hops off and disappears for a second. And then just like you see his head pop up back over as it's like
Toll, I think you're second in line.
Oh shit, I am second in line. Yeah, I think Toll's at a point where like Nock looks back and says, "Everybody trust me," and then Toll sees like the waterfall right at the end, and he has too much momentum and knows that Velfa and her backpack is not going to stop in time, so he just sort of leans into it and just continues to run. So as Nock falls off the edge, it's just Toll and Velfa just being pulled like, "Oh, I hope this works."
When we fall on top of the backpack.
Yeah. Yes.
While all that's happening, how close is the elder that just helped us out?
The elder is sort of off to the side near the rope sort of stairway that you guys came up with, and he's just trying to control like anybody actually, like following you as he realizes what Nock was actually going to do. He sort of anticipates it and continues to kind of shape the dust devil so that it angles in a way that it prevents them from using like ranged weapons of any kind and the ability for them to kind of like, follow you. But you can see that the Council of Three that, of the Dosen are currently just yelling and just kind of like directing and beginning to build their magic to counteract whatever it is that this elder is doing.
She's gonna kind of like give him the nod, like, "You should probably come with us," but she's gonna leave that up to him.
Okay, and so
she might step to the side before jumping off to like give him room to jump if he wants.
Making it very much in a sort of a Gandalf-y kind of way. He looks to you and shakes no, shakes his head no and says run. And for a second, he just kind of like, waves a hand and like he's controlling this thing. And then he kind of does this like sort of like swishing motion with his hand. And you feel a little gentle push to get you onto the crystal skimmer itself.
Okay. Alua will nod and respect his choice.
Okay. So the 4 of you have jumped onto this elder is keeping them at bay. Nock, this is your time to shine. Tell us about how you're going to, without helmsmen on this, because the helmsmen are not there, the right and left sort of helmsmen, how are you going to control this creature and get it to do what you need it to do? It came to your call. Now you need to tell it what to do.
Yeah, no, he's controlling it with like the pure music, right? Like he's just like standing in the place, like playing his horn. And like he's weaving his music into the music of Thra, and just like playing along with the natural rhythms and air currents that the skimmers use to coast along the dunes, I think we get that sort of effect while he's like standing on the head of the skimmer at like the quote unquote helm, as like the like lighting effect when like the music of Thra is like really like rising and the scene happens as like the lights like swirl around him. And we can see that he's like even much more deeply connected to this creature than we've seen in the past. It's like almost as though they're kind of a version of the dream fast only between him and the creature, right? Like they're melding minds, they're melding consciousnesses for the moment.
Okay. So immediately the thing sort of takes off, forcing all of you to kind of like reach and grab for some rigging, to continue, except for Nock, who is so in tune with the creature. The creature's motions and Nock just are one. It's like a dance with the creature moving and Nock sort of countering that sort of experience as the sort of the magic and the song just kind of whirls. And for a second, the three of you looking at Nock, you could hear deeper in the melody than what you actually hear his horn playing. It's almost as if you can feel the presence of the creature sort of like, as a sort of an external thing for a second, hearing its voice as well. And its song is sort of a counterpoint to the melody that Nock is playing, and immediately kind of whooshes and starts to take off. As Toll, you kind of take a look back and look in the distance, you realize that the guards are now overwhelming the elder and taking him into custody, and you can see them sort of like dashing and moving and heading towards other crystal skimmers that are sort of lower on the one of the sort of the branched platforms.
Ooh, Alua's gonna tie herself to something and then because she's always doing weird shit with ropes. Apparently that's her kink. She's probably gonna tie a rope to whatever rigging is on the skimmer and tie a rope around herself, preparing for them to come after us. While Nock is doing her thing, he's the one that ended up with the brew stuff, right?
Yes.
How can I make fire happen with wind? Oh, she's kind of grabbing the bottles of brew from his robe or pocket or wherever he had it, and maybe tries to meet eyes with Toll to like give him an idea of what she's preparing for them to have to battle while in air.
Man, let me see what I have on me. Cool. Let's do some bullshit.
Okay. Yeah, bullshit. That works.
What? Okay. You know what? I have an idea. What is is there like there's like a basket, right? On top of the glider things. It's not like when it's like on its back, right?
You were literally on its back. You're not actually sitting in a basket.
I thought there was like a thing that we sat in.
You're not sitting in anything. What you're basically doing is you're kind of like, okay, it's like riding, like on the outside of something, and you basically have like these ropes that you kind of wrap your arms around, and you have to use that to sort of stabilize yourself. If you've ever seen Dune, the movie, like whenever they ride the sandworms, that's basically the same way that it works.
I hate that. Okay, cool.
Cool. I'm glad you hate that.
Yep, it's fine.
What do we have? I don't think I have anything.
Didn't you have something that had like arrows or something?
Yeah, I have a crossbow. I mean, if I can fire a crossbow with a Molotov cocktail on it, I don't know if that'll work. Sounds like a bad idea, but why not?
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
That's true.
You can just crossbow while I prepare to like throw shit.
Yeah, they have to get in much closer range for you to throw shit. That's the problem.
Right.
That's my.
Alua's thinking.
So while they're trying to figure this out, Velfa's she's in her garb of, in her glorious garb that I'm sure is in tatters. She goes and she reaches and rips some cloth from her wrist, from her Here, Toll, if you could tie this onto your arrows, and you could light and you could shoot the fire, right? And she's trying to doesn't really know how to say it, but she's kind of fucking scared because she's on this thing again. But she's trying to hand him some cloth that he could wrap and make flame arrows.
Actually, that's an idea. How big is this bottle? The brew.
You don't know.
How big is the bottle, Johnny?
I would assume
I'm gonna let you decide how big this is the bottle of brew. It's not a.
I don't remember them being very big in the
they weren't,
show.
but I mean,
yeah, like a beer bottle size, right?
Yeah, like beer
much.
bottle size, maybe a little bit bigger.
I don't think that would. I think that would weigh an arrow down too much. I was gonna try to tie the bottle to the arrow, and I
Yeah, no, I think
yeah, I think if that's
better.
the case, and they're just riding a fucking, they're also riding a thing. Sorry, PETA. I'm gonna take a fire. I'm gonna wrap a cloth around the head of the bolt and like dump some of the brew on it, light it on fire, and I'm gonna shoot the glider. I'm gonna try to make the glider toss
when a
them
glider
off.
gets close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even far, it's a crossbow. I'm gonna shoot the glider and see if the glider will like toss and turn and toss them off. I mean, what's the worst that the glider can do? Bump into us? Like the people boarding us is the problem I have.
Yeah. While he's doing that, Alua's gonna take some of her rope because she's got like 50 feet of rope again. She's gonna take like 10 feet of it and try to tie Velfa to any of the rigging that she can.
Tie Velfa down.
But like Velfa's like probably
she's
like
not gonna make her like useless. It's gonna be like a fancy little seatbelt. She's gonna make her watch how she ties her in case of emergency.
The bag down.
Like she just got like Velva just now has like a fantastic chest harness and has like a little heart tied into the rope.
Yeah,
Alua is really skilled at tying people up.
This is the After Dark show. This is the
apparently I'm really, really good with rope.
Age of After Darkness.
That'll be next episode. But at the end, while she's finishing that, Velfa will probably see some tears in Alua's eyes as she's like finally washing over her that her charm is out there and everybody can see it.
I think Toll is completely oblivious to what it means. And he's shooting.
He's very oblivious.
He's shooting at a giant glider. What is that? What's that look like, Johnny? What's the DC for that?
I'm going to say it's a 4, given that there's motion going on both sides, and that firing a crossbow with the payload that you've got is going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Can I help by like guiding his shot, like making sure that I
while magically steering this giant.
I feel like you are steering.
Yeah,
that's what we're letting you do.
Okay, fine.
I feel like this is all Alua and
I meant by like steering steady, like I was helping, but that's fine.
Oh, like an assist?
Yeah.
That could make sense, but yeah, no, you need to steer the thing, and that the rest is up to us.
Yeah. No, that's true.
I am going to shoot. And I am going to spend an effort. So it's a 4. It's a 4. 1 effort to roll. Pow, 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 pow. Kapow! I succeed.
Oh.
I succeed. 4 damage.
What do you succeed? Oh, wow. Jesus.
I shoot. Yeah, I have a big boy crossbow. 4 damage on this stupid thing. Sorry, it's not stupid. It's a perfectly fine glider, and I don't actually mean it harm. I just need it to toss its passengers off. Because
he's like not trying to shoot it to kill. He's trying to shoot
I'm just shooting it to be incredibly painful because it's a fire arrow sinking into this monster. So,
All right. So as this thing kind of like begins to kind of move up and swoop towards you, it just kind of like makes its motion and coming up in sort of an attacking fashion, and your arrow just kind of like your bolt, kind of flies out and hits it just under one of its eye sockets. And immediately it just kind of reacts and does this whole sort of like tipping, like kind of banking and like flipping over side, kind of to shake everything off. As it does, you can see that the gelfling that are on its back are trying to hold on to the rigging for their dear lives. But the thing is just sort of like banking off and sort of off to the to the right, and moving off in the distance back towards, somewhere deep into the Crystal Sea. And the 4 of you on the back of your own skimmer, which I'm assuming it's going to get a name at such point, and I'm sure Nock is going to come up with something better than Ruth or Neb. We'll get a name as we get there, and this your crystal skimmer just kind of is able to outdistance the other ones that are trying to pursue, and you're off into the distance, heading towards the rising sisters, the rising moons as the sun is about to set.
Well, I think that went excellent.
Compared to what?
Last time.
Alua is like laughing and crying at the same time. She just like
last time they carried me out and tossed me into the desert.
This is
He's got a point.
this is better.
We have a skimmer.
Okay, this is admittedly better.
Yeah.
Johnny, where are the unMadeGaming meeting again?
Stone in the Wood.
Don't
Great.
in the wind. We're headed to your home.
Great. Yeah, I think Toll kind of like moves up toward, like carefully, like grabbing onto things, slowly moves up towards Nock and says, "Do you know how to get where we're going, or do you need my assistance?"
I have a general idea, but assistance would always be helpful.
Great. Generally, and he like looks at the mountain range. That way. And I'm attempting to assist him in his getting to Stone in the Wood.
Volfa is in her harness, and she's tied down so well. I just feel like she's just like leaned back, like the wind's just blowing her, but she's like she's
smiling,
trapped in.
She's quite content, you know. Deep pressure,
God damn it.
compression.
And Alua is just kind of by where she's tied herself to, kind of staring off in the distance.
Staring proudly
She
at the
hears
work
what's
she did.
going on, but she's kind of she's having a little break.
So I'm gonna, before we narrate towards the end of this. Before we narrate towards the end of this, I'm just gonna say I think you guys outdid McLoken, and I'm just gonna say that was pretty impressive.
Oh, that's not a good
Welcome.
thing. It's not a good thing.
You
All
are
right.
welcome.
Right. So yeah, for Nock, I'm assuming that you continue to maintain sort of this like connection, you know, to this crystal skimmer as you're kind of navigating, and so angling your way, sort of following the vague, you know, notion that that Toll has given you about heading towards Stone in the Wood. You feel yourself sort of like one with this particular creature and one with the land and the air and just sort of how everything is going. And so you continue to see it like picking the currents and just try to flying with the currents, you know, the air currents as it's going, making its way towards the dark wood, you know, the edge of the dark wood that meets the crystal sea, and you know, journey to make that final journey towards Stone in the Wood. Time passes, and as the deeper sort of, you know, darkness of night comes and the moons are, you know, kind of like climbing in the sky, you get a sense from the crystal skimmer that it sees something on the ground, and it immediately has a sense of fear, but you can't really tell what's going on, you know, in your mind. Like you can't really see what's going on. You can't see what it's sensing. You can only sort of get the idea that it's having a sense of danger. And it's like in the ground, like on the ground, maybe about a mile in front of you, maybe 500 or 1,000 feet below you, kind of a thing.
I'll be like, something has the skimmer nervous. We're going down, but be on guard. Last time, it was, well, you were there.
I'm sorry, we're going down as in you're landing, or like something worse?
Yes. I realize how that sounded.
Can Alua do some assessing danger while they're... What happened to today's show?
All right.
I want to assess some danger while they're realizing that their mind's in the gutter.
So as you're beginning to sort of, you know, kind of descend this crystal skimmer, sort of heading in that direction, you kind of take it into a bank. And Alua, go ahead and assess danger for me right there.
Difficulty?
Oh, this is going to be relatively easy, so it's going to be a 2. It's going to be obvious what you're seeing, but, you know, to get a real sense of what's going on, yeah.
I see the shit out of it. I see
Wow.
all of it.
All right.
I'm going to draw a
Describe-
picture better than Velfa just once.
Shots fired.
Just once, never again.
So
She'd
Nock
fight you, but
Nock
she's
has
tied down.
This is Belpa's new kink. It's fine.
Well, I learned a lot of things today.
Look, I'm trying to get this up to its conclusion here, and you guys keep.
Art coming soon.
Please, Kitty, please.
You know what? Good night, guys. Have a good one. Bye.
I'm dying. It's worth it. It's fine.
All right. Let's narrate this end, and then we'll yeah. Nock is banking the crystal skimmer lower and lower, kind of bringing it around in a circle. And as you get to a certain point, you see Alua looking off to the side, sort of taking, in the entire setting and situation. You see many of these sort of monstrous creatures with the claws moving in a column through the forest. And you can hear their sort of chattering and sort of like their noises that they're making, and you can see that they're moving towards, but they appear to be, as you're making closer and closer, they appear to be bunched up and stopped at the front of their column. There's a large amount. There is probably 100 based on what you can see here, but at the front, stopping them in front of them, is a figure standing tall in red with what appears to be horns, waving a staff around with a brilliant sort of source of light, sort of swinging around and kind of like just swinging and kind of sort of pushing back. And you get a moment, you get a sense that right there, that is the last hope. That is your bastion of hope room, right? It's the Mother of Thra, and that's where we're going to end it.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dope. Well,
I'll probably just yell "Mother." Everybody, we'll call it a day.
Man, this has been the lewdest puppet show I've seen in a long time.
Well, you guys got so bad, I had to take you home to mom.
Wow.
It's rude.
I don't know if that's better or worse. Thank you so much for being
Anyways.
here. Thank you all for the subs, the hype train, all the donations, all that fun stuff. Let's do our introductions. We'll get the hell out of here and get out of your hair so you guys can go explore all the new terms you learned today on the internet. That being said, we will start with the goodest boy. Sam, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you up to?
I am Sam, Twitter at the Wizened Fool. I am here on Wednesdays, and on Sundays, I am doing a game with AP Gaming Real, which is like BattleTech mixed with King Arthur Pendragon. So we're doing like BattleTech houses and like our lineage over years of play. And that is out on Sundays if you subscribe to AP's Patreon, or it comes out like in a delay on his YouTube. So you can check that out there. Otherwise, I'll be back here on Wednesdays.
Hell yeah. Our new rope bunny, Kitty, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you up to?
I feel very called out right now.
If you draw that, I will die so happy.
I feel like I need to do that. I need to also have like a Fabio scene drawn of like Cole and Velfa.
The awkward hand holding.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then a separate picture of Nock just flying on a thing.
Just like Nock, just majestic. Like
the rest of us are doing
He's just riding it, standing.
Things.
But hey, hi, hello. I'm Awkward Kitty Inc. everywhere and anywhere. I do a lot of art and roleplay on Twitch. Check me out. Give me some, after you've given all the love to this channel right here.
Mm-hmm.
Kitty is in charge of all of our emotes and all that stuff here. So as soon as I'm not a broke boy, we're gonna have more stuff for like subs and biddy things and all that good stuff. So go check out her sweet art. That being said, we'll go to our newest rigger. Jerry, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you up to?
Mostly not that, I think. I'm Jerry, Cherry Babam on Twitch, Cherry Babam7 on Twitter. I'll be doing some nurse role playing. So maybe I am doing that. Who knows? And on the GTAs, and hopefully some tarot reading soon. Getting back to healthy enough to get into that. So come hang out, come have some fun with us.
Hell yeah. And last but not least, the person who's supposed to be in charge of us, Johnny, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet, and what are you up to? Really? Are you? Is that what you're... I can't... It would be great if you were not muted, but...
No, you just need to put...
Is that better? Would you like to hear me now? Is that better? Look, Video Store Cowboy everywhere except Vid Store Cowboy. Thanks, guys. It was a lot. Or except Vid Store Cowboy on Twitter. It's a good time. Thank you very much. And now I have to go take a shower.
Perfect. Thank you all for being here. If you want to chat about this game and all the things we talked about today, please join us in our Discord. If you want to support what we do here, go check us out on Patreon or hit that sub down below and join our clear variety of subs on the channel. If you haven't heard that call out, if you haven't heard our new podcast, Dark Fortunes, go check it out. Johnny's a GM. We're actually playing D&D. We're all animals and it's a good time. And last but not least, if you want to hear me talk like this for an extended period of time, I have a new podcast. The new podcast is called Hot Dice Daddies, and it's all about dice and the people who love them. Go check that out at Twitter, at Hot Dice Daddies. And from all of us to you guys, we will see you next week. Bye-bye.